Who should make a will? Basically, everybody. 70% or over of the adult population don't currently have a will in place. It's estimated that 66% of the people that do have a will have an out-of-date will, or a will that no longer covers their needs. Things have moved on, potentially they haven't rewritten their will to make it do it. In the past it was very simple. You would have a few £100 perhaps in the bank, you would have a rented house, you would have perhaps a penny policy from the co-op in your grandparents' day to pay for your funeral, and that was it. It was dead simple to wind up an estate and deal with it. Now, because of the costs of care home fees, the costs of things like inheritance tax, the fact that most people own their own homes, or large proportions of the population certainly do, it needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be dealt with properly. So having a will is even more important than it ever used to be. If you're wealthy, you need a will. If you're coping, you need a will. If you're struggling, you still need a will, because there are so many things that people don't realise they are worth. There are so many different things that occur in modern life that make things so different from the past. You've got children. You may have stepchildren. There may be children that have come from different relationships, and then you have some of your own on top of that as well. Things can be very complicated in lives nowadays. For anybody who's under 16, they need to have a guardianship order written there to make sure that the children are protected should they die, because otherwise the courts and social services will make that decision. Do you really want that to happen to your children? Children inherit in Scotland aged 16. Whereas a simple trust written into a will can protect them till they're 25, to make sure that in those in-between senior teenage years that they don't go totally silly with what they may well have been left. So it's a way of protecting them that's so easily done through a will, and very often hasn't been dealt with or thought of either in the past or for the future. Cohabiting. Children come in different ages and sizes, very often in new family units. Parental responsibility isn't always going to be there for the man in a cohabiting partnership. He may be the father, but it isn't always that easy if something happens to the mother and nothing was written in the first place. A simple will sort that all out. Divorce and remarriage doesn't affect a will being null and void in Scotland, but it is something that if it hasn't been dealt with properly in a divorce situation, that the first wife could still gain from the estate and the second wife could be left with nothing. Do you really want that to happen? Straightforward will, redone, could sort the whole thing out without any problems. More and more people I see are concerned about their pets. They want to make sure they're looked after when they've gone. They want to make sure that possibly provision has been made for them. Do you know that pets are the 6th most popular beneficiary from a will, and that 1.5 million people have left all their money to pets and pet charities? Makes you think, doesn't it? I can help you deal with it one way or another with pleasure.